Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Salatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa lana Muhammadin wa ala sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful, glad to see you all, sisters and brothers, on the introduction of macroeconomics. And my class, we have been in the 15th meeting of this class, and it does mean that our today meeting is basically the last day for this introduction for macroeconomics, and hopefully you will be ready to face another test competency for the next week. But before we continue with the materials, I would like to inform you several informations. The first is the next week, perhaps your last test competency. But if you wanted to have test competency 4, not in the next week, but maybe in the Saturday or Sunday, or importantly not next week, it doesn't matter for me. So we can rearrange the time for you, whether this week, but maybe on Sunday or Saturday, or perhaps next week on the same time as your class today. Doesn't matter. And second one is for the material for the next week, and prepare the material that connected with the 13, 14, and 15 weeks of class. And for the material examinations, so I will maybe give you 2 forms of questions. The first is multiple choices, and the second one is essays. Yeah, the essays perhaps not so different with the previous examinations. So you will be asked to complete the examination by handwriting, and then take a pictures and then send into my class. But the second one, in terms of the multiple choices, it will be covering the 3 different meetings, and in terms of numbers, maybe perhaps around 15 to 20 multiple choices, and it will be available in my class during the examination time or periods. And the next one, the last but not least, is that once you have finished all of the class meeting, so my task will be evaluating all your performances since the first until 16 meeting. So it means that I will be objectively evaluate your performance in terms of perhaps the first is attendance, second one is examinations, assignments, and others, including the attendance for the guest lecture series. So I think that's all for the information before the class today. Any other information, or maybe you have anything you want to talk with me, please? Anything you want to ask, sisters and brothers, before we start? Clear? Okay, if you're clear, I will continue then now. So please open my class 15 meeting materials, and in the 15 meeting we'll be studying about unemployment. So this issue perhaps quite important and interesting in the midst of current pandemic, that many people are get unemployed due to the pandemic. Yeah, and now you are going to discuss and learn about what the meaning of unemployment, yeah, according to the technical point of view. And the second one is what the causes of the unemployment. And third one, understanding the behavior in the real world. Yeah. So these 3 items will be discussed during this class meeting. So the first one, I want to ask one of you to read first. Brother Zian, could you please read the first slide? Natural rate of unemployment, Zian?
Is there natural rate of unemployment? The average rate
Yes,
of
please.
unemployment around which the economic fluctuates.
Yes.
Okay. I understand. In a recession, the actual employment rate rise above the natural rate. In a boom, the action, sorry, in a boom, the actual employment rate fall below the natural rate. Then, sir.
Okay. Okay, so from this one, if you talk about unemployment, you should understand the natural rate of unemployment. So what is the natural rate of unemployment? Is unemployment that due to the um, inadequate skills, yeah, of the peoples when they have been graduated from educational institutions. So they are because they are lacking in terms of skills and necessary knowledge that could meet the requirement in order to enter the job place. So this one is the meaning of natural rate of unemployment. So in recessions, the actual unemployment rate rises above the natural rate. So the natural rate here is the orange, yeah, the orange line. It is the natural, yeah, and the blue line here actually is the actual, the real unemployment. So in the mid of recession, look like now. So uh, the position will be the unemployment rate rises above, yeah, above the natural. So it means that in the mid of recessions, the employment would be above average, yeah, and vice versa. In the mid of booms, the actual unemployment rate falls, yeah. The second one is a first models of national rate of unemployment. So you are understood about L, yeah, workers in labor force, and E is employed workers, and U is unemployed, and U over L here is unemployment rate. So from this one, you can understand that um, labor force here actually is E plus U. Yeah. So if you are given a case study about labor force actually the numbers of employed workers and unemployed workers. Yeah. So they are defined as labor force. And assumption is the L is exogenous fixed. Labor is exogenous means that it cannot be influenced by another internal factors. So labor considered to be exogenous variables. So it will be happens beyond our control. Yeah. So you cannot control the labor. You cannot control the number of labor because it is naturally happens in terms of the human life. Yeah. And the second one is during any given month, S is fraction of employed workers that become separated from the jobs, and the F here is fraction of unemployed workers that find jobs. So the S here is fraction employed, and F fraction unemployed. So you can divide simply by S rate of job separation and F rate of job findings, and both are exogenous, beyond the control of the government, beyond the control uh, of the society. So the third one is here, yeah, the transitions between employment and unemployment. So you have two boxes here, employed and unemployed, whereby the employed here is the S. S is the fraction of employed people, yeah, from according to previous slide, times employed people, yeah. And unemployed to be employed here is if the multiplication of the fraction of unemployed times unemployed. So if the people move or shift from employed to unemployed to employed, so it will be a change in terms of the fractions, in terms of fraction in the labor force. Yeah. And if you talk about the transition between employment and unemployment here, you understand about the steady state conditions. Yeah, the steady state condition here is the labor market is in steady state or long run equilibrium if the unemployment rate is constant. So it means that The steady state means that the number of unemployment is at the maximum level, at the maximum conditions. So there is no any numbers that better compared to this steady state. So steady state here is the best numbers, the best fraction, the best conditions in terms of unemployment. And the steady state here is mathematically defined as S times A. Yeah, so of unemployed people who lose or leave the jobs. Yeah, and second one is F times U, unemployed people who find jobs. Yeah, so here is the fractions, the fractions. So let us take some simple illustration here. So F times U equal to S times E. So S times open brackets, so L minus U, yeah, minus U. So equal with S times L minus S times U. If you solve this one, so you can get that unemployment U over L actually is unemployed over L. Yeah, unemployed people is the fraction of S over S plus F. Example. Example. Each month, 1% of employed workers lose the jobs. So the S is 0.01. The each month, 19% of unemployment workers find jobs. So F is 0.19. So how much the natural rate of unemployment? So the formula is U over L equal to S over S plus F. So you can get 0.01 here. So you can get 5%. So the natural rate of employment by looking of these conditions is 5%. Yeah. So what is the policy implication then? Yeah. So the policy implication from this finding is a policy that aims to reduce the natural rate of unemployment will succeed only if it lowers S or increase F. Yeah. So once again, if you would like to decrease the unemployment, the natural rate of unemployment, you have to lower S. What is S? S is workers that lose the jobs. So you have to lower the people that lose the jobs. And the way around, we have to increase the F. F is the number of unemployed workers that find jobs. So it means that you have to open the job markets broadly. Yeah, so it's the policy implications. So why is there unemployment? The next one. Could you please help me to read Brother Abdi Hakim, please? Why is there unemployment, Abdi Hakim? Could you please read the slide?
Um, do I read the slide?
Yes, please.
Why is there unemployment? If job finding were instantaneously F equals 1, then all spells of unemployment will be brief, and the natural rate will be near 0. There are two reasons why F less than 1. Job search and wage uh, rigidity.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Brother Abdi Hakim. So the question is, why is there unemployment? It means that the people that find the jobs, yeah, is quite difficult. Yeah, so very difficult to find out the jobs. Why the job is difficult to find out? Because the job search. So there is not enough information to give you information about the jobs. And second one is wage rigidity. So the wage is quite rigid. So there is no any rooms for the wage to change, to improve. So the people get unmotivated, yeah, to get jobs, yeah, because the wage is quite rigid. And in terms of the job search, so we got information about frictional unemployment, yeah. So whereby the frictional employment here is caused by the times it takes workers to search for jobs. So the frictional employment is unemployment due to the people is looking for jobs. Yeah. So it occurs even when wages are flexible and there are enough jobs to go around. So it means that frictional unemployment here because the mismatch because your competency with the available jobs in the market. So there is any mismatch. For example, Zian here, the competency in economics, yeah, but the jobs available is not in economics, but in maybe in engineering. So Zian becomes unemployed because you don't find any jobs that matching with your competency. So it will create frictional unemployment. And it occurs because workers have different abilities that I said before, preferences, yeah, and job have different skill requirement, yeah, geographic mobility of workers not instantaneous, and flow of information about vacancies and job candidates is imperfect. So all in all, the frictional employment here happens because the mismatch between the competency that they have with the availability of the jobs in the market. Any questions so far before I continue, please? Any questions, discussions? Okay, I continue then. So we move to the next one about sectoral shift. Yeah, could you please help me to read, brother or sister Rizka Sania, please, for sectoral shift?
Yes, sir. So,
Could you please? Yes.
sectoral shift. Definition from sectoral shift is changes in the composition of demand among industries and regions. Example of sectoral shift is technological change, increased demand for computer repairs persons, decreased demand for typewriter repairs person. Example, a new international trade agreement caused greater demand for workers in the export sector and less demand for workers in import competing sectors. It takes time for workers to change sector, so sectoral shift causes frictional unemployment. Sectoral shift abound. More examples: late 1800 decline of agriculture, increase in manufacturing, relative decline of manufacturing, increase in service sector. Energy crisis causes a shift in demand away from huge guzzlers towards smaller cars. In our dynamic economy, smaller took still significant. Sectoral shift occur frequently, contributing to frictional unemployment.
Okay, so from this reading, Sania, you can understand now that the frictional employment basically happens due to the mismatch again between the sectoral available for the jobs with the competency that the people has. For example, in the mid of 80s or 90s, the agriculture becomes very productive and very much sectors. Yeah, but unfortunately, the competency that the people have is not matching with that sexual availability. So it means that the requirements of the people to work is not matching with the sector availability in the economy at the moment. So from this mismatch, again, we understood that the frictional employment will be higher or bigger. So once again, the frictional unemployment is created due to the mismatch between the job availability and the competency that the people have. Yeah. one, okay, here policy, public policy and job search. Could you please help me to read Sister Monica? Sister Monica, are you still with us? Could you please
Yes, sir.
read the slide? Yes.
Public policy and job search. Government programs affecting unemployment. Government employment agencies disseminate info about job openings to better match workers and jobs. Public job training programs help workers displaced from declining industries get skills needed for jobs in growing industries.
Next,
Unemployment
please.
insurance (UI) UI pays part of a worker's former wage for a limited time after losing his or her job. UI increases search unemployment because it reduces the opportunity cost of being unemployed, reduces the urgency of finding work, hence reduce F. Studies, the longer a worker is eligible for UI, the longer the duration of the average spell of unemployment. And benefits of UI, by allowing workers more time to search, UI might lead to better matches between jobs and workers, which would lead to greater productivity and higher incomes.
Okay, thank you, Monica. So actually, from the public policy that and job search, from this one, government employment agencies and public job training programs basically tries to equip either in the demand and supply side. Yeah. So in order to match again the mismatch, the causes of unemployment is the mismatch, either in the side of government, in the side of workers, or in the side of sectors or industries. So how to make it maybe the mismatch become um, closer is other. So here government employment agencies here is trying to narrow down the demand, yeah, the demand side. So you are given publicly informations about the job availability. And the second one is public job training. It is from the supply side. So even though you are not eligible at all, you are not eligible, but you are trained by particular agency of the government in order to upgrade it, to be upgraded and meet the minimal requirements. Yeah. And if meanwhile the employment here taking place, so the government here also provides unemployment insurance. So it exactly happens when I was visiting UK 10 years ago. So I found a family in the UK at the moment was given unemployment insurance. The amount is quite fantastic. So one family per month, the government will give this family for around 1,000 pounds sterling. Yeah, 1,000 pounds sterling is equal with 1,000 times 15,000 rupiahs. So every month they will get 15 million rupiahs. So here is unemployment insurance. But the notions of the unemployment insurance is basically uh, to facilitate the unemployment people to prepare themselves. So the meanwhile they are preparing themselves to be eligible in the labor force in the labor markets. So they are given the allowance so that they can feeding the family. Yeah, they can fulfill the basic needs like that. So hopefully this unemployment benefit insurance will benefit to the people in order to maintain the standard of living. Yeah. So here the benefit of UI matching between job and workers. Yeah. and also will be leading to the greater productivity and higher incomes. So it means that by taking the UI here, the worker will have a certain level of income so that they can maintain the productivity in order to upgrade continuously the capacity. Yeah, like that. So this UI is not the income that will be given long period. No, it is just the the transitions. Yeah, the just a particular periods until they are ready for getting job, yeah, and also for having job. Yeah, and then they can make their own money. Yeah. Okay, the next one is why is there unemployment? So here again, the formula you have U over L, yeah, you have here, and real wage rigidity, yeah. So here is the explanations, and here is the formula, graphical illustrations. So you have real wage in the vertical axis, and you have labor in the horizontal axis, and you have here supply, yeah, supply of labor, vertical, and you have demand for labor, yeah, here, and you can see here the gaps, yeah, the red one. So the gap one here basically the supply, yeah, the supply and demands, yeah. So here the demands here and the supply there. So the amount of labor willing to work and amount of labor hired. Yeah, so here is the gaps. The gap between the amount of labor hired or employed and the amount of labor willing to work. So if the amount of labor hired is higher compared to the amount of labor willing to work, it means that the unemployment is there. Yeah, the unemployment is there. So there are some reasons. The first is minimum wage law. Yeah. So you have the upah minimum. Yeah, the minimum wage. So this minimum wage law is the reference for the policymakers to set up the amount of wage in every year. Yeah. And the second one is labor unions. Somehow, labor union here will give the power, yeah, in order to maintain the wage, yeah. And the third one, efficiency wages, yeah. So it means that to what extent the wage here can improve the productivity in the job place, yeah. So here just the illustration, the tables, yeah. So, but if you read the minimum wage, yeah, the minimum wage is the below the equilibrium for most workers. We cannot explain the majority of natural rate of unemployment. However, the minimum wage may exceed the equilibrium wage of unskilled workers, especially teenagers. Yeah. So the minimum. So if we would expect that increase in the minimum wage would increase unemployment among these groups. So if you increase the wage, so the risk is will be given the chance to give unemployment higher and higher. So some seems to be a trade-off. Increase the wage, unemployment bigger, yeah, and the way around. Labor unions, unions exercise monopoly power to secure higher wages for their members. When the union wage exceeds the equilibrium wage, unemployment results. So employed union workers are insiders whose interest is to keep wage hike. Unemployed non-unions workers are outsiders and would prefer wage to be lower so that labor demand would be high enough for them to get jobs. So the labor union here actually try to maintain the interest of the workers, yeah, in the job place. And the efficiency wage theory here, theories in which high wages increase workers' productivity. Yeah. So attract higher quality job applicants. So if you give the wage to the people, the more wage given to you, so it means that the expectations of the firms is quite high. Yeah, they are looking for the higher quality job applicants and increase workers' efforts and reduce shirking. Yeah, so if you are given good pay, yeah, or high salary, it means that the firms ask your best serve, yeah, to the firms. Reduce turnover, which is costly, yeah. So we reduce turnover uh, uh, will be loyal, yeah. Improve health of workers, yeah. Improve health of workers. The increased productivity justifies the cost of paying above equilibrium wages, and the result is unemployment. So if efficiency wage theory increases the wage, unemployment will increase as well. Yeah, because it is the matter of trade-off between the job providers and the worker. So here is the question for discussions. I think you can discuss by your own next time. So now we go to the duration of unemployment. Yeah, the data shows that the more spells of unemployed are short terms than medium term or long term. Yet most of the total time spent unemployed is attributable to the long-term unemployed. This long-term unemployed is probably structural and due to the sectoral shift among the vastly different industries. Knowing this is important because it can help to craft policy that are more likely to succeed. So if you talk about duration of employment, is basically due to the structural cause, not natural rate, yeah, but the structural, the frictional rate of employment. Mostly of them get employed because mismatch between the competency and the job availability. And here just the illustrations about the data. Here is the minimum wage, yeah, the blue line, yeah, the nominal, the nominal is the real, yeah, the real, and the red one is the nominal, yeah. So the minimum wage actually is the blue line here, the blue line. Okay, here another explanation about the cause of unemployment, yeah. But the next how the next employments, it depends on the demographical illustrations. So in the 1970s, the baby boomers were young workers changed jobs more frequently. Yeah. So baby boomers were young and they are productive, so they are looking for jobs very frequent. Late 80s through today, baby boomers age, middle-aged workers change job less often. So it means that in the late 80s until now, the people are quite less changing the jobs. Yeah, they are prefer to loyal, yeah, in one jobs rather than changing job frequently. So here just illustrations why the rise of European unemployment. The two reasons most countries in Europe have generous social insurance programs. So because they are given the insurance programs, they are lazy to work. And shift in demand from unskilled to skilled workers due to technological change, yeah, such as like now, until now, the workers are quite difficult to find job if they are lacking in terms of technological advancements. And the summary then, sisters and brothers, the first, the natural rate of unemployment, the long run average of steady state rate of unemployed, yeah, and depends on rate of job aspiration and job findings. So the fractional employment here is due to the time it takes to match workers with jobs, may be increased by unemployed insurance. Yeah, and we have frictional, we have structural. Structural employment is result from the wage rigidity. The real wage remains above the equilibrium level, causes minimum wage, union efficiency wages. Structural unemployment. So employment because of the structure of the economy. Yeah. Duration of unemployment, most spell are short terms, but most weeks of unemployed are attributable to the small numbers of long terms. So duration of unemployment usually short term, but they could be long term uh, if the some factors happens, yeah, due to the frictional employments or structural employments. So behavior of the national rate of employment in US rose from here. Possible explanation, trend in real minimum wage, union membership, prevalence of sectoral shift and others. And European unemployment happens generally because of technological driven shift in demand away from unskilled workers. Okay. So I think that's all, sisters and brothers. If you have any questions, comment, feedbacks, please, most welcome. Any questions so far? Clear? Okay, clear? Okay, if clear, I close this one. So I will confirm again next week. Don't forget to have test competency 4 or last test competency, and prepare yourself from the weeks 13, 14, and 15. And the type of question will be divided into two. The first is multiple choices questions, and second one is essay questions that will be covering since 13 until 15 week of meeting. Okay, that's all for a while, sisters and brothers. You have any questions before we end the session, please? Okay, if there's no questions, thank you very much again for your any experience, and you have get some informations about macroeconomics from myself. And I do apologize if there are some mistake made during the programs, during the session with me over the semesters. And hopefully you will be getting a best mark on this course. You'll be graduated or pass, I mean, from this course. And inshallah, if possible, we will be meet again on next semester if possible. And keep your spirit up, and good luck for you. I close. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.